Good morning. Today's reading comes from Rays of the One Light, a weekly commentary on the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita by Swami Kriyananda. This morning's reading in week 24, How Devotees Rise. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. Last week, we asked the question, why do devotees fall? And we considered the downfall of Judas in this context. Jesus, in answer to Judas's criticism for allowing Mary to rub his feet with spikenard, a very costly ointment, said, "The poor always ye have with you, but me ye have not always." Jesus is saying here that there is one supreme injustice that needs eradication. Poverty, yes, but not of a material kind. Poverty in a spiritual sense. Divine blessings are not common in this world. They are extraordinary. When they come, we should give them priority above every other consideration. Never allow a moment of inner joy, for instance, to be set aside for lesser duties. Divine attunement is our highest priority. As Lahiri Mahasai, the guru of Yogananda's guru, said, to listen to the heart's inner sound, Om, which issues from the very center of our being, is man's highest duty. Mary, on this occasion, was not communing in inner silence with Christ's spirit as she had been when Martha urged Jesus to reproach her for not helping out in the kitchen. Mary, this time, was serving outwardly, but in a very different spirit from the restless fussing for which Jesus had reprimanded her sister Martha. Those who see a radical difference between the paths of action and meditation should understand this distinction. To serve in the right spirit is necessary, for only thereby can we overcome our karmic tendencies towards restless activity. The important thing is that spirit be always inwardly focused, that in everything we do, we act in loving service to the Lord. Therefore, the Bhagavad Gita says in the 3rd chapter, the state of freedom from action, that is, of eternal rest in the spirit, cannot be achieved without action. No one, by mere renunciation and outward non-involvement, can attain perfection. Whenever the Spirit of God descends upon you, however, remember the words of Jesus, me ye have not always with you. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om, Om, Om.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Father's Day to the fathers here. My name is Surendra. I'm here with Bharati and also with Nayaswami, Lorna, and Badri. And we are so glad that you have joined us also. How devotees rise. Here's a thought to ponder. Krishna says to Arjuna that to be free of having to act, we have to do what? We have to act. In his words, freedom from action can be achieved only through action. So what sort of action is necessary to be free from the need of it? Or to make it more personal, what do we have to do as devotees? How do we have to act in order to rise from where we are to our soul's freedom? Krishna also says in this morning's reading that renunciation is not enough to get us there. Renunciation of all that holds us back from communion with God, the delusions of this world. And all I can say is good grief. I mean, I'm not a bad guy. I don't mean harm to anyone. Why isn't that enough? Well, apparently it isn't enough. And that's why I'm still here. And I just happen to notice that you're also still here. So we, I guess, just haven't risen far enough up yet. So let's see what we can do about that. Rose gave a wonderful talk last week on why devotees fall, and she also touched a little on how to turn that around and rise. And so I'd like to focus a little more deeply this week on that turnaround and that rising part. Everything we do is directional. We are here in church this morning. We made it to church. That's a step in the right direction in our favor, otherwise known as a karmic thumbs up. We can build on that. When we succumb to delusion, to the pull of Maya, whether it be a minor slip or a major crash, it's really just a result of thoughts and energy, our thoughts and energy, going in the wrong direction. In last week's reading, Krishna described the descent into despair as a beginning with attraction to sense objects, which creates a desire for them. And then anger when that desire is not fulfilled, followed by infatuation with that object, forgetfulness of God, loss of our discriminative faculties, and ultimately, on that spiral downward, the annihilation of our spiritual life. Well, I'm sure that no one has gone quite that far. Well, we've probably all gone quite that far, but we're considerably above that annihilation now. But we're somewhere in the middle there, and we've got a ways to go. So how we rise then is by reversing that direction step by step, no matter where we are on that devotee's ladder, so to speak. First, we have to recover our discriminative faculty, our awareness of what's right to do. Whether we know what that is, our discriminative faculty will guide us to it. And we're reminded of what isn't right to do every time we do it because we encounter suffering as a result, which is simply caused by something that we did that wasn't right to do. The way to start back is simply to start. Refuse to stay where you are, that is causing you pain. Lift your eyes. Look to the light. The light is always there. no matter how dim it may seem. Darkness deepens as we wallow in it, but the light grows ever more brightly as we trust that it will. God would not have it any other way. He wants us to look and follow the light. Now, discrimination regenerates as we bring light and remembrance of God back into our consciousness. Krishna assures us that God would never abandon us. So seeing ourselves as sinners is actually just the opposite of what God would ever want us to believe about ourselves. That momentum, that affirmation downward is what keeps us there. Okay, so we're getting somewhere, but by remembering God and the light, we lose our infatuation with whatever it was that caused us to fall. Our discrimination sees it as a trap, the trap that it is, which makes it easier to say, been there, done that, no thanks, not again. So we've made it up another rung of the devotees' ladder on our rise, and now we're dealing with anger, because that's what got us into trouble with infatuation. Well, if we're no longer infatuated with whatever that object was, what's there to be angry about? Nothing. Have you ever noticed that letting go of anger tends to take away your desire for whatever it was that had you all fired up in the first place? Suddenly that object, person, or situation, it's not a big deal anymore. You no longer feel the pull to satisfy the urge of that desire because the urge has lost its power. We're able to rise from that shadow into the light of calm acceptance and inner peace, free of even the thought of wanting whatever it was that had once seemed so compelling. Now, I'm not suggesting that this is just a day's work. We know from experience that it's more like one step forward, one step back until the anguishing monotony of those backward steps becomes a real push to avoid the same outcome. Let's be aware of what's at stake here. It's our inner peace and our joy. And who wants to mess with that? As mentioned earlier, every choice we make is directional. And the two most important factors that affect that direction that we take are, one, the attitude that we bring to it, and two, our attunement to where we want to be instead. Now, I want to change the subject a little bit here without changing focus on how we rise. Last month, I was on a pilgrimage in Greece that was arranged through the Ananda College. And pilgrimage to me is always more than just visiting historic and sacred sites. It's about connecting more deeply with the divine in myself, too, remembering that that divine is there and bringing it out. On my way back, sort of as a finishing touch, I read Nayaswami Padma's new book. This is Hints of Laughter, Hints of Joy, about her 4 decades of friendship and discipleship with Swami Kriyananda, and most importantly, about the pearls of wisdom that she drew from her relationship in that capacity with him. And I want to share a little bit of that with you, and also recommend that you buy the book and read it yourself. It's a wonderful read. Padma writes, always be willing to question your own point of view. This was a guideline that Swami emphasized again and again. Number 1, does it make sense? Ask yourself, does it make sense? Do I resonate with it? 3, will it take me in the right spiritual direction? And 4, will it work? This, he said, is the scientific approach to spirituality itself. Do you aspire to be a leader? Hopefully you do, even if only as a model of right living to other people. And in that effect, in order to lead effectively, we must be able to accept other points of view and be willing to question our own ideas and the choices that we make. We live in a very material world, especially here in America, where there is so much emphasis on consumption. And what that requires of us, or supposedly motivates us to do, is centered around money. And there's always a sense of needing to have more of it to continue to be successful and have more consumption in our lives. Padma recalls that Swami never let money be the determining factor in any choice that we make, that no matter the item or the project, it was more about always doing the right thing. And if it required money, to trust that it would come if the right thing was earnestly sought. And what he said repeatedly is to make decisions based only on that, only on what is right to do, never on the money involved or even what other people might think if you believe strongly and they're not in agreement with it. And what comes to mind for me is one of Swami's most inspiring songs, and one of the lyrics is this: what if men cry, your dream is not our own? Your soul knows the answer. Go on alone. That's how devotees rise. They live their principles, and they live within their means. How many times did Swamiji, even in seemingly dire situations, forego a sum of money for a higher cause? Always to find in that spirit that abundance was never denied when it was truly needed. It would always be there, and he was the living proof of what we call the miracles that made that happen. Why? Because God watches the heart, and responds accordingly. As a devotee, where should you live? There's only one place, really: in the moment. Swami had a simple strategy for every situation. Live in the moment and in attunement with God. The result? 8 spiritual communities, 150 books, nearly 400 musical compositions, and a huge library of recorded lectures and classes. All had their origin in that do-it-now attitude and in concert with God as the doer. As a last reference to how devotees rise, the gem that always comes to mind for me is what has become known as Maria's mantra. Nayaswami Maria was a force of nature who was struck in midlife with a cancer that went to her brain. As her husband Devarshi was wheeling her into the hospital for her evaluation, she already knew intuitively what the outcome would be. And she turned to her worried husband and said 3 things with the command of a true disciple. Detach yourself, she said. Control the reactive process and live the teachings. Detach from what? From the ups and downs of this world. What comes of itself, let it come. It has come for a reason. Focus on what that reason might be. Wishing that things were different is only a waste of precious time. Control the reactive process. Why? The reactive process is of emotion, and emotion is the enemy of clarity. Calmness gets things done. Emotion gets in the way. Be calm, be clear, and no circumstance will ever be able to defeat you. Live the teachings. Have they ever let you down? The only down is when we forget to live them. And returning to that very first thought about action, to be free from action, we must only act from the still center within us and in remembrance of God. And in that spirit, I'll offer you this prayer from Yogananda's Whispers from Eternity. This is number 200. Teach me to bring all goodness into the net of my consciousness. Long ago, I had a little torch. It was a plaything of my mind. I toyed with it. A tiptoe, I would work it, peering into dark, secret corners of my thoughts. In its gleam, I would capture glimpses in dark mental waters of many little golden minnows of creative ideas. I caught some of them and used them for bait to catch bigger denizens of my consciousness. But my hook was small, and many large fish of inspiration got away. Now I carry a searchlight, and no hook and line, but a net purchased with the precious gold-spun dreams of increasing understanding. With my large net of woven light, I will sweep the very ocean floor for thy wisdom. Ah, my expanding net will encompass all thy ocean. I will haul to myself all the goodness, golden deeds, and drops of inspiration, and yes, too, thy very self, and make all that my own. God bless you. And now, more music.
This song is by Swami Kriyananda, and it's called What Is It For? And Swami wrote introductions to many of his songs, and he didn't for this one. I wish he did, because he could use one. But he did give us a lot of comments, so I want to give you two brief excerpts. The first one refers to a time when he was camping with a friend in the high mountains. He says, "We sat that afternoon watching the sun go down. In deep valleys to the west of us, the dimming light shone with a deep golden color into misty valleys below. In the east, a full moon was rising. It filled the misty valleys behind us with a wonderful blue light. It was one of those magical moments life, alas, all too rarely gives us. As we sat there, my friend suddenly clenched his fists and cried, 'If only I could feel it!' This is the meaning of a song I wrote many years ago, of which one of the stanzas states, 'What is it for, walking alone? What is it for? What, must our lives ever be like the winds on the sea? Oh, walking alone. Truly, to enjoy the universe, one must become one with it.'" And then just one even briefer comment. "What is it for" is a song of yearning. And it doesn't offer a solution, but you don't need to offer a solution, because once the heart yearns, it will draw the answer.